Article by Mike Berardino of the South Bend Tribune about the importance of week one games for Notre Dame. Okay. And so here's where I want to start. We're all worried about Notre Dame, Notre Dame, Notre Dame. What about the Miami side of this? Cristobal, 5-7, 7-6, 10-3 in the 3 years, going on 4. Remember, he was in that group of guys that all changed and then lined up at a new place, Kelly and Freeman and whatever, and he's one of them guys. 12-12 in the ACC. Okay, so you got to understand there's a lot of pressure on the Miami end to win this game at home against Notre Dame. 5-7, 7-6, 10-3, 12-12 in the ACC. There is a lot of pressure on that guy and the games in your building. They expect him to win it. Now let's look at the Notre Dame end. So much history deep history with Notre Dame. I got my Frankie Leahy book over here. All this history, the big thing last year was the year 3 stuff with Marcus Freeman and how that was going to go and all this. Like you have all this unique tapestry of history within Notre Dame. And it's interesting to see and follow these trends over time. So Mike Berardino, the South Bend Tribune, pulled the historical record. And over the last 125 years, I believe, is where he went. Notre Dame's lost the season opener 13 times, and not one of those teams finished better than 9-3. So he's running back 125 years in Notre Dame history. There is no Notre Dame team that lost week 1 and had a better record at the end of the year than 9-3. None. 0. None. Now, that does not mean it can't be done. It doesn't mean it can't be done. But there's an interesting historical precedent for it being an uphill battle for Notre Dame if you lose week 1. Pat, I believe it was 13. I think that's what I read. Now let's go through some recent ones that you may recall. 2022. Notre Dame loses to Ohio State in the Horseshoe, Freeman's first game as a full-time head coach. Notre Dame hung in there, played tough, and lost and whatever. Okay? None of them. None of those teams that lost week 1 have a better record than 9-3. Well, one of them ended up 9-3, but none of them ended up better than 9-3. 2022, Notre Dame lost to Ohio State in Freeman's first game as full-time head coach. The next week, you lost your quarterback. The wheels unraveled tough. 2016, it is 0. Yeah, I think I said that. Did I not? None of them. 0. 2016, that nightmare no defense experiment embarrassment at Texas. 50-47 loss in double overtime. It was a disgrace to defensive football and a harbinger of other really bad things to come. Really bad things to come. So that's 2016. Let's go. Oh, boy. Here's another gem, Pat. Glad you joined us for this part. 2011, Brian Kelly's masterpiece losing to Holtz at home. Holtz? You mean Lou Holtz? Not even Lou Holtz. It's Kid. In the game that would never end. I was with Pat. It was a very long day. It was a very long day. So you had the South Florida monsoon lightning nightmare. 18 hours to lose the game. You couldn't just lose it normal. It had to take 9 hours for that game, and everybody had to leave and come back or whatever. If I was at that game, I would have left and never came back. Think about it. The first time we're playing bad against South Florida and they say, empty the stadium for a storm, I'm going home. You know why? Either we're going to keep losing and I'm going to be miserable, or we're going to barely pull it out and I'm going to be mad about that Anyways, 2011, there you go. Now, let's go on another one. This was bad for me. 2007. I brought my then college girlfriend to the game, all excited. I'm going to show my new girlfriend Notre Dame, and it's the first game, and it's going to be all awesome. We get our ever living brains beat in 33-3 against an unranked Georgia Tech team. It was 147 degrees in the direct sunlight, and Notre Dame started out 0-5 that year. That was rough. That was rough. Started out 0-5 that year. 33-3 beatdown at home against Georgia Tech. You got to be kidding me. How about 2004? BYU ties final season. 20-17 loss at BYU to start. Sophomore Brady Quinn as the quarterback. You finish 6-6. Go all the way back to 2001 Nebraska. 27-10 loss. I will say this though. At least they were good. Like when I'm looking at all of these nightmares, at least I could say when you lose to Nebraska in 2001, at least they're good. At least they were a good team. And by the way, you started out 0-3 to start out that one. Okay, 0-3 record to start. 95 Northwestern. They finally, what are the odds? This is the luck of the Irish. For once in forever, Northwestern has a good team. And then that's the year they play us at our place to start and beat us. And then that team went 9-3. But like, it's just, what was the topic again? What happens when Notre Dame loses week 1? That's the topic, that it doesn't go well. That's the topic. When you lose week 1, it doesn't go well historically for Notre Dame. That's the luck of the Irish. Northwestern finally has a really good team, and then they beat you at your place. And that team ended up going 9-3. Let's go back one more. We're almost spanning my entire life here. 85 and 86. Double Michigans. Faust's last year, and then lose first year. Michigan both years. Loss and loss. Okay? So that's about where I'm going to stop going over the list, and then we go back further and further into history. Again, I want to give proper credit, not my research. Mike Berardino, South Bend Tribune. Interesting article. None of the teams ended up better than 9-3. So there's nothing to say that it can't happen, but there is some historical precedent there that it's very, very dangerous. Now, it's just interesting historically how penal it could be to lose week 1. And that's why a lot of teams schedule easier games week 1, I think, to ease into all this. Practically, losing week 1 can be overcome, but man, it's tough. You just lose all momentum. Everybody's excited for the build up to the season. You lose week, you just lose all momentum. Everybody's in a bad mood instantly. All the narratives of the whole preseason and how good it could be and what we have going for us go away. And it's all negativity right away. So there's a momentum. There's practically what you're doing on the field, but there's just negative momentum all over. The media is negative and the fan base is already pissed off. What are you going to do? Now, here's the flip side of this, you guys. While I respect this history, this Notre Dame team's going to have way more talent and be way more put together than the teams I just went over in all those nightmares. There were big picture bad things going on with a lot of these teams. Either people's regimes ending, newer regimes starting, and a lot of instability. So I respect the historical record there, the significance of winning that game. But many of these teams were really messed up. A lot worse than whatever this one's going to be, even if they lose week 1. Bad coaching, lack of talent. There were issues. So I just want to say I respect the historical significance of it, but it is not necessarily a fact that it would happen again. I just think we're in a unique set of circumstances with some of the retooling at key parts of this team combined with the tricky early schedule is very unique. Very unique. So that's where I fall on this. Looking at this research and the history, a lot of those teams had real problems, talent problems, depth problems, coaching problems, all of that stuff to a level that I don't think you're in right now. And so that's kind of where I'm at here is respect the history, win week one because you just need to win week one. But I think this team's at a different point. And you can make an argument that if they lose week one, depending on how it looks, there's some different reasons for it. And they don't necessarily have to fall into that nightmare of being 9-3 or 8-4, right? It's just such a weird sequence. Miami off week, Texas A&M. It's such a weird sequence. For as much as we're talking about it's going to be, as much as we're talking about week one and week three, that middle week is so important. It is going to be the world is ending versus we're winning the Super Bowl. And it's going to be this team's job to ignore all of the noise, all of the rat poison I'm going to put out, all the garbage media stuff. I'm telling you, if we beat Miami, it's going to be send the new quarterback for the Heisman in New York, and Notre Dame's going to win the championship. And if you lose to Miami, it's going to be this is all falling apart. Last year was all fake news, light schedule, and you got lucky or whatever, and it was all garbage and whatever. And Notre Dame's reversing back to being irrelevant and all this stuff, and they don't matter. That's what it's going to be. There's going to be no nuance. And I'm going to be a part of the problem. I know I'm going to be a part of the problem. There's going to be no nuance. It's going to be flying high or we're in the garbage and it's all terrible. So really interesting looking at the impact of that week one game for Notre Dame long term. I just think this team and this coach are in a much different place than all of those other ones I've mentioned. All the other ones I mentioned in a much different place. So it isn't necessarily gospel that it's going to be, but I do think this is really interesting to show how important it is for Notre Dame to get off on the right foot. That's kind of where I'm at on this. Is respecting the history, but I think this Notre Dame operation's in a different place and has a lot more stability and talent and better coaching than a lot of the dynamics we went over, although those are some nightmares. Those are some absolute total nightmares. And you just got to win this game and avoid it. But I wanted to go over that. I just thought it was a really interesting historical snapshot there. And Miami feels the pressure. Notre Dame feels the pressure. Both got a lot to prove for different reasons. Something's got to give. Somebody got to win. Somebody got to lose. Something's got to give. And I don't want us to give an inch. So figure out how to win that game and then grind out a win against A&M, and then you're a playoff team. I'm confident in saying if you're able to do that, you're a playoff team. But it all starts in Miami. You got 40 days left. Don't forget to check out the merchandise. The link is in the description. You can browse and carouse all the different Always Irish gear. Make sure you head over there and get something for the next tailgate. Thanks for being here.